All right, so we're back, and Ryan Garcia's PED, did he use him, did he not, situation is so confusing and chaotic. I don't know where to turn for the right answers, but it seems like a daytime drama saga being played out literally every single day. And we have some brand new breaking news that people are running with this fact and rejoicing that Ryan Garcia has conquered all and he was set up the whole time. That may not be the case, and I'll explain. The breakdown. Let's go. Now, before we get started, I know that there's a lot of Ryan Garcia fans here. So let's start with the good news. If you're a Ryan Garcia fan, there was two things that Ryan Garcia supposedly test positive for. One being the SARM ostarine, which he tested positive for twice. We'll get back to that in a second. But he had also been rumored to test positive of a metabolite of nandrolone, which is a synthetically or naturally produced testosterone. And in this case, the worry was that it was synthetically produced and he was injecting essentially an anabolic steroid. That is actually been proven to be false. Ryan Garcia never took a steroid. This was confirmed today by Dan Raphael, again, the man that reported this story to begin with. So that was the only steroid, like if we're going to use the word steroid, that was the only one that Ryan Garcia had tested positive or rumored to be tested positive for. Completely wiped away, false. Now, a lot of people on the internet took to this report today to rejoice that Ryan Garcia is innocent and he did nothing wrong. And while that may be the case, there's still two ostarine tests positive that Ryan Garcia hasn't had an answer for outside of contaminated supplement, which has been the running theme that we've all talked about for the last week. Could it have been a contaminated supplement? The consensus has been yes, but Ryan Garcia is going to have to show the New York State Athletic Commission that he has been taking something that could have been contaminated. He hasn't really provided that thing, at least not to the public, to say what it was. He trolled about the ashwagandha, but my boy Showbiz, and give all credit to him for this, had postulated a theory that Ryan was taking a dietary supplement to combat the effects of, well, out of Ryan's own mouth, what he was doing on fight week. So that would make sense, right? Ryan Garcia drinking and smoking up to and during, apparently, the fight night. I'm not even sure is allowed in the New York State Athletic Commission bylaws, but whatever. That being potentially a reason he was having trouble cutting some weight and not making the allotted weight and needing a dietary supplement that could have been contaminated. That makes a little bit of sense. But then Ryan Garcia came out today, and not only he said this, but his lawyer, which we'll get to in a second, said a particular phrase that I'm very interested in diving deeper on. He came out and said, 1/1000th of a gram found in my system, bro. You can't make this up. INSAC resigns, and what he's referring to actually is, I think the head of the New York State Athletic Commission is resigning as of today. I don't know if that has anything to do with Ryan Garcia, but just a weird thing that's happening. Defamation lawsuits, all you fake-ass reporters like Dan Raphael and everyone else who tried to claim I cheated, suck a huge one to the point you explode. That seems very pointed and almost erotic. Suck a huge one to the point you explode. Hey, yo. All right. What I wanted to look at more here is him talking about 1/1000th of a gram in my system. Now, this has been an ongoing thing with Ryan's camp, that there is very low levels of ostarine found in his system. Now, I don't have access to those levels. And for the most part, most of the public has no idea what those levels are. So they are retesting the B sample, which is another breaking report that came out today. Ryan and his team have authorized testing of his B sample. Will be done on May 22nd. So here's the thing. If Ryan is saying what he's saying, and let's get to his lawyer, Darren Chavez says, quote, we are dealing only with a known supplement contaminant in the 1/1000th of a gram range that provided Ryan Garcia with no performance-enhancing benefit whatsoever on fight. We now wait for the B sample testing on the presence of low-level ostarine on May 27th. And here's another point that, again, I promise I'm going to get back to it. I'm just giving you guys some setups to get to the punchline here. Ostarine has been on the World Anti-Doping Agency's ban list since 2008, and in 2022 is listed as an anabolic agent by W.A.D.E, whose rules mandate that when urine samples are collected, they are divided into A and B samples. So W.A.D.E, who is essentially where W.A.D.E takes a lot of its protocol and testing and all of its procedures from, has listed this as a banned substance. Well, on top of that, you hear Ryan and his lawyer talking about the very low levels and 1/1000th of a gram, that specific phrase. So I heard it twice. I wanted to look it up. What is 1/1000th of a gram, and why would that even matter if W.A.D.E is the testing agency and it is completely banned on their agency list? So I looked up a 1/1000th of a gram as a measurement, right? And that measurement as a unit of mass is called a nanogram, which is interesting because a nanogram again, equal to 1/1000th of a gram, has significance to this case, because while W.A.D.E doesn't allow for any ostarine to be in your system in their protocol, they're not the sanctioning body that's going to hand down a verdict on this whole situation. That's going to be the state of New York, the state of New York Athletic Commission. They have their own bylaws. Now, I don't know if they're going to be working hand in hand here with W.A.D.E and saying, okay, if W.A.D.E says that you had some in your system, we're going to go off their protocol because W.A.D.E was brought in for the WBC title fight. But ostarine is on their list, and instead of it just being a complete wash where you are not allowed any detectable level, there is some detail around this. Ostarine can be in your system, but it's abnormal at levels higher than 0.1 mg per ml. Now, mg per ml is nanograms per milliliter. So again, that word we just talked about, nanogram, but this is not saying that Ryan Garcia can have 1 nanogram of ostarine in his system, which is what he is claiming that he has. And again, I will show you the tweet, 1/1000th of a gram. Let's just do it in real time so you guys can see that this is not me making this up. As the nanogram, that's the name of it. But, and again, we go to his lawyer, who says that we are dealing only with a known supplement contaminant in the 1/1000th of a gram range. Now listen, I'm not a chemist, and I don't know anything about this stuff, but to me, when I think of in the range of a specific number or a specific limit that I'm talking about, I usually don't think of 10 times the allotted amount, which is exactly what Ryan and his lawyer are claiming that Ryan is tested positive for. But 1 nanogram is 10 times more than the 0.1 nanograms per milliliter he's allowed to have in his system to fight. So if I'm reading this correctly, both Ryan and his lawyer are telling me that it's 1/1000th of a gram to, I guess, make it sound small, and maybe it is. Maybe that's a very small amount to be in your system. But the allowed amount by the New York State Athletic Commission to have in your system is 10 times less than that. So Ryan is for sure over the limit here. This is not an issue of it's within the wheelhouse of what you're allowed to be in. The only reason I bring that up is because Ryan quote tweeted someone that brought up this allowance in the rule set from the New York State Athletic Commission and says, "I'm free, I've been acquitted. Praise the Lord, so low that it's actually legal. No weapon formed against me shall prosper ever." But that's not what Ryan said. And that's not what his lawyer said. And maybe they just misspoke. And ultimately, hopefully, we don't have to do the he said, she said, because there is a B-side sample that's about to be tested. I don't know the detail of how much you can get out of a urine sample down to the nanograms per milliliter. I don't know that. But I don't have to know that because, again, I brought a source that you guys are probably not going to like, but it's the only one that right now is public that is talking about this with any sort of knowledge as to how this stuff works. Victor Conte has been interviewed about this, and apparently he may know a little bit more about what the levels are here that Ryan tested positive for than he even does. Or maybe he's leading on. Let's take a listen to this.
What he called tiny levels, tiny levels. Well, let me explain something. On the weight day, when he was drained 15, 20 pounds, the concentration of ostarine was 6 times higher than it was on fight day when he was rehydrated. So he tested positive twice on 2 separate days, but one was at a much higher concentration. So this ties in with this theory of pulsing, meaning that you could test negative throughout the training camp, and then all of a sudden you push out 15, 20 pounds of water, and you do exercise and raise body temperature and all the rest of it, and the next thing you know, you've got these a nanogram per milliliter or parts per trillion concentrations that get detected.
That seems really bad. Now, I know people are going to see that as a biased source because that's Victor Conte, and he's had ties to Devin Haney's camp, and he's also a guy that, let's be honest, he was behind the Balco scandal of the Major League Baseball 2000s era steroid circus. But Victor there says that Ryan Garcia tested 6 times the amount on the day before fight day that he tested on the 20th. And on both days, he tested positive. Now, I don't know what limit that was or what level of positive he was, but 6 times the amount the day before to the night he fought. And Victor Conte chalks it up to the fact that he was pulling a lot of water weight that would have been hiding some of the microdosing. Again, I don't know any part of this, so gearheads in my comments maybe help me out here. But Victor's alleging that he could have been using this throughout his camp. That's what that statement says to me, that if you're micro-dosing or you got these pulsings that you wouldn't see in camp tests, because remember, he passed 4 tests in camp. They got away with it because he hasn't cut weight and the water weight's not coming off and some other reason. I don't know if I believe that, but I also don't have enough information to say I know what that would even look like to begin with. That is a terrible look, and it leaves me even more confused because I was about to get on here and tell you guys that Ryan Garcia is the victim here. He could be a victim of early reporting and fair play. I reported some of the news that came out there. I took what was out in the public and brought it to you guys. I was also going to tell you guys that I don't think that Devin Haney is right when he goes out and says, well, what he told Eddie Hearn today in Eddie Hearn's interview with our guy Marcos at Fight Hub.
Have you had a chance to speak to him?
Well, yeah, I said, I think he wants a disqualification.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
How is he, though? How is he with all this that's been coming out?
Not good. He's taken it extremely personally to the point where I don't even know if he'd want to fight him again.
I don't think that's fair, regardless, for Devin to get a win that he never got. But I was starting to question if Ryan was wrong really at all, outside of, yeah, you have to know what you put in your body. Even if it's not on the label, you're putting a dietary pill in your body. And you shouldn't be doing that. So one, no, I don't like that Victor Conte has Ryan Garcia's information and is talking about it publicly when he isn't a reporter. He isn't someone that's in Ryan's camp or a part of Team Haney's camp in this back and forth, at least not to my knowledge, if he was listed as anybody's coach. Like, he shouldn't be getting any of this information from W.A.D.E or otherwise, which makes me go, why are they giving him that? I don't like that. But again, I don't know. Maybe Victor Conte operates in some sort of official capacity. But regardless, if what he says is true there, then two things can be true. Because I know how people are going to look at this video, but if you come to this and you look objectively, you can, one, think that Victor Conte should not have any place in the discussion of this because of his affiliation to Devin Haney, his past in the Balco scandal, and his potential ability to sway the conversation with his words, but he might be telling the truth. And in that same respect, whether you agree that he should be saying this or that he has any leg to stand on when pointing the finger, Ryan also could be a little less innocent than you're giving him credit for. I'm not saying I know the answer here, but this thing is unfolding left, right, and center, and it doesn't feel like it's going in one direction. It feels like it's just sprawling out all over the place, and I have no idea what is going to happen here. The realistic answer is that on May 22nd, we're going to get that answer. We're going to find out what, I guess, because now Victor Conte has said he can differentiate the levels, and I'm assuming that means W.A.D.E can. They're going to find out what that A and B sample difference was as far as the levels of ostarine in his system. And regardless, it was in his system. Apparently, Ryan's going to have to go in front of the New York State Athletic Commission and explain why it was in his system. If it was a tainted supplement, what it was. He will have to physically get that supplement and give it to them. And no, I don't think he's going to get disqualified. I don't think Devin's about to get a victory that he never won. That makes no sense. But also, I don't think Ryan is going to get out of this as unscathed as I think people that saw that tweet and went, oh, Ryan may have not broken the rules at all because it's allowable. I don't think that's going to happen either. Realistically, it depends on if what Conte is alleging here is true and that they can find out a way that Ryan tested some crazy number higher, like 10 times higher, which is, I don't know if that's enough, but they might bring the hammer down on him still. I don't know, depending on what that B sample says, or they could get him that slap on the wrist, 6 months, and, pay a fine, and your win gets turned to a no contest. That's probably the most likely scenario, but this thing is a freaking daytime saga, man. We are going balls deep, ayo, in these cuts to try to figure out what is going on in this Ryan Garcia thing. And by the way, while I'm saying this, Ryan Garcia is now calling out Errol Spence. So that might be a video we have to take up now because Errol Spence and Ryan Garcia going back and forth. I ain't going to say I called it, but I kind of called it. For the time being, what in the hell is going on with Ryan Garcia? What is he innocent? Did he take this throughout camp and he has this pulsing? What's the State Athletic Commission going to think about this? What's the B sample say? All questions that I don't have the answer for. So, I guess we'll find out.